This has been an interesting dialogue, and I had to pull out some of my Latin. This initiative, what would you like to see happen, Chris?
Sure. I think
what would you like to see actualized? Your fears if it doesn't happen, and I might want to ask you to take us to some of these other places where your organization has worked on the ground and seen what happens when you don't do it, and what happens when you get it right.
Sure. Well, I think there needs to be some guidelines that come out. In many ways, Common Word gives theological permission to participate.
Yeah, indeed.
Who is this other? It's okay to talk to them. I mean, it can be as difficult as theology, but at the same time, it's as simple as love God, love your neighbor. I'm not loving God if I don't love my neighbor. And we got to learn how to practice that in our home communities.
But I think that you've mentioned something key, which is that it gives people permission.
Yeah.
That if I go to the other, I haven't. Nobody says to me, "You're a little too chummy."
Yeah.
With the enemy.
That's what it boils down to. Can I love you? You don't look or vote like me, right? Well, I don't know that, but that's the way it goes down, right? And Jesus says, hey, it's easy to love your friends. It's difficult to love your enemies. It's no accident that Jesus gave.
Mama.
Yeah.
Be careful.
It's okay. But Jesus says this. He says he gives the great commandment to love before he gives the great commission to go. I don't think that's an accident. If you don't know how to love, don't go overseas and screw it up.
Right.
So you asked for a practical example. It's a long story, but the short version is this. I got to know an Islamist leader from the Northwest Frontier Province, freely elected as the leader of that province for 5 years. Yeah, Pakistan's right along the Af-Pak border, the border between Afghanistan and Pakistan. And the first time we met, I thought about how to engage and talk to him, and nothing came to me. I was praying and nothing. And then I heard myself asking this question: why do you do what you do? And you know what his response was? He said, I believe on the last day I will stand before my Creator and be held accountable for how I governed. And I said, brother, we have some irreconcilable differences, but I believe the same thing.
Wow.
And there's a way for us to work together according to values of peace, mercy, justice, love. And so we've been funding students on the Af-Pak border for the last 3 years, providing an alternative to extremism and teaching about, through Muslim mentors there at the university, how Islam relates to global society and in the context of their own Pashtun culture.
Wow, that's powerful. That's powerful. Father Leo.
I think the key is what's already been said about getting to know both people and traditions. At Georgetown, we have a new doctoral program in religious pluralism, and most of the students really come with an interest in Islam and Christianity. So we have Muslims and Christians, including a couple Catholic priests, studying each other's tradition in dialogue with one another. And I would hope that this would spread on all levels of education, from grammar schools through secondary schools, universities, through parishes. That networks of communities can be established. So that'd be my great hope.
Now, there is an inherent fear that if I get so close to this other religion, am I in some way diluting my own tradition?
I don't think so. I mean, it's just like a language. When you study another language, you get to know your own language better. And I believe when you know another religion, when you study another religion, you begin to understand your own religion better.
That's interesting.
I have found that to be true of myself, and certainly, I mean, I've engaged in dialogue with Christians, with Jews. I'm very deeply involved with a Buddhist monk, and it teaches me more about the Sufi tradition, and how the process of personal transformation is important. So I don't think that knowing another religion dilutes your religion, actually strengthens your religion.
This is a myth. So that coming to the common word rather than creating a new religion, the common word religion, you're saying that somehow it strengthens.
Sure.
Yes, absolutely, because I don't want, I mean, I want my Christian brothers to be better Christians, and they want me to be better Muslim. It's not about, you know, about changing them. It's about being true to your actual beliefs.
But what about proselytization? I mean, we're talking about common word. What about people who said, look, our real job is to bring those people to
the true knowledge of God.
To the true knowledge of God, which is only resident in my church.
Well, both faiths are proselytizing at heart. They want to do that. They want to share it. The question is how. And how do you protect that? How do you promote that? Proselytization is actually protected in international covenants, but it's become a dirty word because it suggests an asymmetry of power. I'll give you a bowl of soup if you come to my faith, or those kinds of things.
Are you ready? Now I'm going to pay penance for this. Ali Mazrui, I'm going to put it on Ali Mazrui, called them in his book, The Africans, rice Christians.
Yeah.
That as long as there's rice, they're Christians.
Yeah.
This kind of behavior.
That's not a true faith. A true faith is this: I am stronger in my identity, as the Imam was saying, when I root that identity in you, in respecting and loving you. That's what God intended. I become more fully human the more I love you. Now, in the context of a conversation in a relationship, I think it's fair game to have a conversation about irreconcilable differences. That's okay. Holy Quran says Jesus was born of the Spirit of God. We think something a little bit different, that he was the Son of God. We're not going to bridge that gap, but you know, that's okay, because we have these common values that can lead toward common action. So let's have the conversations of respect, not tolerance, but respect and love, and become more fully human, made in the image of God as a result.
My sense is that in both traditions, it's ultimately God who gives the gift of faith, that we humans are not, at the end of the day, in control. I'm responsible as a Christian in dialogue to share my faith with Jews, Buddhists, Hindus, Muslims, and I hope that all of us are converted to the truth, and I allow God to be Lord of the economy of salvation.